Inside Unmanned Systems here at Exponential 2025. We are with Amit Ganjoo, the CEO of ANRA Technologies, a very interesting provider of advanced air mobility and unmanned systems traffic management solutions. So would you like to introduce ANRA Technologies and kind of the background and what you guys are sharing with folks here at the show?
Sure. Thanks for having me on the show here. My name is Amit Ganjoo with ANRA Technologies. ANRA Technologies is an airspace and mission management company. We've been doing it since the concept of unmanned airspace management, or UTM, was a research paper back in 2014-2015 at NASA. So we do everything it takes to safely integrate the drones into the national airspace system and also enable the enterprises that are actually the drone users, how they can scale their operations, VLOS or BVLOS, all the way from flight planning, safety management, resource management, to flight authorization, approvals, and integrating into the same airspace where there are other aircraft, other drones, and the sorts.
Excellent, excellent. So you guys had some big news at the show this week in that you announced the European Unmanned Traffic Management certification, U-Space. Could you talk a little bit about what certification you guys got and what kind of services you'll be providing for UTM in Europe?
So ANRA got certified by EASA, which is the European regulator, and we announced it in Lisbon last week as what's called a U-Space service provider, the first one certified by EASA in the world. And what that means, after over 2 years of going through the certification process, which looks at the technology, safety management, safety support, business management, cybersecurity, it's an overall certification, similar, equivalent to what air navigation service providers go through traditionally, but in the U-Space. So we are the first one to have gone through the wickets and come out at the other end. And now, after certification, we are authorized to launch and offer our U-Space/UTM services across Europe in any member state. And now we are in the process of doing the initial rollout in 3 or 4 countries over the next 6-7 months.
Oh, that's very exciting, very exciting. So what are some examples of some of the applications that are at the kind of highest maturity level, maybe over in Europe? It seems like there is perhaps more progress in adopting some of these AAM initiatives there than the U.S. or.
I would not necessarily say that.
No, okay.
There is the U-Space regulation became a law back in 2023, and now all the member states are in the process of implementing. But the difference in Europe is there are like multiple member states. It's not just one nation where you roll out the whole. So each member state has to do their own airspace risk assessment.
So it's a bit of a patchwork.
Yeah, it's not a patchwork, but each entity, there's an overarching guidance, but then each member state has to do some additional work in terms of airspace risk assessment to designate the areas for managing this traffic. To answer your specific question around advanced air mobility AAM, I wouldn't say Europe is necessarily ahead, and there have been some setbacks in Europe with some of the recent players going under or declaring bankruptcy and stuff. So, but in the small drone UAS segment, Europe is definitely making strides. This is the first certification. In North America, currently we don't have a regulation. With Part 108 in the making, that's we are keeping our fingers crossed and looking forward to it. But with the LOA and the near-term approval processes that have been going on with the Keysight shared US implementation, where we are one of the only non-vertically integrated provider that has an LOA. So US is kind of catching up on that space. So Europe is a little bit ahead, but US is catching up. But in the AAM space, I think both markets are kind of in that state of flux right now, because it's happening, but it's not happening at the pace which everyone said it would happen at, right? Which was obvious, and so it's going to take a little longer time for us to get to a point where AAM actually starts scaling and integrating into the national airspace system.
Right. And is it so? U-Space in Europe and the equivalent here in the U.S. would be the long-awaited Part 108 BVLOS rule, or is there?
It's UTM. UTM is what? U-Space UTM is kind of the synonymous thing.
Okay.
And Part 108 is, we are already doing UTM in US. So like if you're familiar with the U.S. shared implementation, operational evaluation, and that started in North Texas.
Yes.
So we are, and I'm on the operations committee there as well, in addition to being a provider. So it initially started with 4 entities coming together, having the need to operate in the same shared airspace. So it was Wing, Zipline, Drone Up, ANRA, MANA, we all came together and started operations, and now there are more operators coming in. Now we have Arlington PD in there, Irving PD, other PDs all coming into play. And we are using, FAA actually provided a certification or like letter of authorization, which basically allows you to offer UTM services as a means of UA to UA deconfliction and risk mitigation, UA to UA collision risk mitigation. So that service is operational right now. We have MANA drone delivery using it, Zipline is active there, Google Wing is using, Arlington PD, Irving PD, they're all using it. So that's happening. And what Part 108 is going to do, hopefully, I know has to go through the process, that's going to help speed it up, because right now each one case is kind of looked at by FAA on a case-by-case basis, then approved. And we have the LOA, and now we started in Texas. Now we also have operations in New York, California with New York Power Authority, Maternet and others. They're also our customers. But with Part 108, we are expecting a standardized framework where other entities, not just ANRA or Wing, other entities can come in and start launching BVLOS operations in unsegregated airspace where they're sharing airspace with other similar users.
Interesting. So we have kind of pockets of really amazing progress and activity, and we're just in a moment where regulatory environment continues to be a little bit of a challenge, and where do you see the biggest opportunities for being able to scale in the short to medium term?
So we are already seeing some level of scale from the enterprises. Like there are a lot of drone delivery operations that are scaling across the country. Then in addition to that, we have a lot of critical infrastructure companies, surveillance, inspection, those use cases specifically focusing on beyond visual line of sight operation. Those are beginning to scale across the country, and I said it started in one area, but these bubbles are growing it across the country and expanding, and the objective is eventually these bubbles expand enough to cover the whole country, like as they start popping up across the region. But those are the early adopters we are seeing. But in addition to that, you have a bunch of these VLOS kind of operations that are happening too. But the true commercial scale and the business viability for this industry comes from BVLOS operations at scale.
Absolutely. So very interesting stuff. Thanks so much for being with us. Any last comments or thoughts for our audience about ANRA?
If you're interested and intrigued in what we do, whether in US or internationally, please check us out at www.flyanra.com or hit us up on LinkedIn.
Great. Thanks very much.
Thank you.